Hi, I'm Peter Tragos, host of the Lawyer You Know podcast and YouTube channel. The saying goes, everyone hates lawyers until you need one. Well, I'm here when you need one to answer your questions and give you insight that you didn't know you needed. Along with my partners, Pete Sardis, the professor, who has a finance and business background, and George Tragos, my dad, and the consigliere, a criminal defense giant, we can answer any questions you have. What's up, everybody? It's Peter Tragos, the Lawyer You Know, and today we're giving a little update and recap of what's going on in the Nikolas Cruz trial, the Parkland shooter death penalty phase trial, where the jury will determine whether or not Nikolas Cruz spends his life in prison without parole or gets the death penalty as is allowed in Florida, which is our home state. Some interesting things have happened throughout this case. We've given updates as the case has continued, but the prosecution has rested their case. We're going to take a couple weeks off of this trial before the jury comes back, before we hear what, if any, evidence, arguments, opening statements, witness statements the defense will put on defending Nikolas Cruz and trying to mitigate this sentence to get him life without parole as opposed to the death penalty. There are two separate phases, and many of you know he already pled guilty to the actual crimes of murder. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about kind of the three main parts of the state's case, why they were allowed, what the purpose of them is, especially one very unusual part that happened that a lot of you had questions about. We will discuss that. And then we'll get your questions in the comments, and I will go through the comments later and try to answer as many as I can. I got a lot of questions via Instagram and Twitter, and I'm going to answer them throughout this video as well. So when you post these questions, I try to get to them in follow-up videos. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. At Tragos Law is our handle. Hit the like button if you are here for the Nikolas Cruz trial updates. I didn't think there would be as much interest as there is. So as long as there's continued interest from all of you, I will continue posting updates about it. So the state's case was broken up basically into three parts. We've already talked a lot about the factual allegations and proof. What happened? How did it happen? Where did it happen? How bad was it? How deplorable were the actions? How deplorable was the plan and the mindset of the defendant? Videos of the defendant on Instagram making horrible admissions and comments. The actions he took at the school that day, how deplorable, how horrible, for the penalty reserved for the worst of the worst. That was kind of the first portion of the state's case. Another very important portion that always happens in death penalty phase trials is the victim impact statements. And you know, we've talked about this in other cases and even in our cases, where any sentencing phase, if there is a sentencing hearing, there will be victim impact statements. We've talked about it in other cases. We just had one the other day. I can't remember who it was now. We just talked about one the other day, the sentencing portion, where the sister of the victim was the only one who spoke, but they produced a lot of letters and written documentation of the victim impact statements. Well, this case was the same. There were some letters submitted, but we also heard a lot of testimony. That was the toughest part of the trial to watch and recap, in my opinion, was to listen to how it affected these victims, that their family members were taken from them as a result of this shooting. So that was the second major part of the trial that the state has also completed. But the third, and perhaps the most interesting, was that the judge allowed a jury view of the crime site. There are rules in Florida that allow this. Now, it doesn't happen all the time for a number of reasons. Number one, crime scenes are not preserved for years like it is in this case. And sometimes you can't learn anything from going to visit a crime scene. If things have changed, if you can't tell anything just by looking at it because there's nothing there, they've cleaned up all the evidence, whatever it may be. But in this case, the judge allowed the jury to go to the school and see the shape that it was in from 4 years ago. This happened on Valentine's Day, 2018. And the judge explained to the jury that the point of going to this school and viewing this crime scene was meant to help them analyze the evidence presented so far in the trial, and to help them understand where certain things happened, what it looked like. When they heard the explanations and they saw the videos, this will give them one extra step to see it in person. Now, a lot of times defenses will object to this, especially if there is video and a lot of discussion and explanation, because it's cumulative, because it's prejudicial to the jury. It'll inflame the jury. And I think those are all very good arguments. But the judge seemed to not care. The defense didn't really seem to fight it that much because when they got there, some reporters were able to go after and let us know that what they saw was bloodstains where the victims were killed, bullet holes in the walls and windows, Valentine's Day gifts and cards all over the place, fragments of glass, destruction. The glass was crunching under their feet, they said, as they walked the crime scene. A truly horrific jury view in this case. And the way this evidence factually has been presented, the victim impact statements and this jury view, to me, I do not see how the outcome of this case could not be the death penalty for Nikolas Cruz. And it's interesting because the victim impact statements, to me, in conjunction with, we did a very long video going through his plea hearing. So if you want to hear him plead guilty and actually make a statement, go check out that video on our page. It'll be under the Nikolas Cruz playlist. I think it may even be the first one we did. But he asked and told the judge that he thinks the victims of the families should choose his sentence. So I'd be interested to hear his thought now as to the victims who took the stand and the victims' family members who took the stand, talking about how they felt, obviously helping the state present evidence to get him the death penalty, which, if you just connect the dots, means they want him to get the death penalty, right? I would be interested to hear what he thinks now. And maybe that's why his defense team is not fighting so much. Maybe they're not going to present any evidence at all. Maybe he's just going to say, okay, the victims' families have spoken their piece. I'll take the death penalty if that's what the jury gives me. That would be consistent with his statements during the plea hearing. He did say he didn't want to die, though. So that's all understandable, and it's kind of playing out in the hands of the jury as it should. But I'm really interested to know what you all think about a jury view. Do you think it's appropriate for a jury to view a crime scene? Do you think it should happen more often or less often if we can keep the crime scenes intact? If we can move trials quicker through our civil and criminal justice system? The scene of the crime or the harm done in a civil case, do you think that's beneficial for a jury? Or do you think if they have videos and witness statements that it's enough and it's really cumulative? Because that's the most interesting part so far factually and presentation-wise, how the trial has gone. And a lot of you had questions about that. Why would the judge allow that? Well, the judge said it's going to help them understand the evidence better. That's the point of an expert. That's the point of exhibits. And that's the point of a jury view. If it's something that's going to help the jury understand the evidence better and make their decision more appropriately based on the evidence that's important and relevant in this case, she allowed the jury view of the scene. Now, a lot of times there are pictures or videos that are not admissible because they are so gruesome that they inflame the jury. And even though they do prove something, they are substantially outweighed by their prejudicial effect on the jury. So that's another argument that potentially could have been made or should have been made against a jury view in this case, especially if there was blood and bullet holes and gun fragments and glass fragments and Valentine's Day cards at the scene. Nevertheless, the jury did view the scene, and we will see how it affects them when they eventually give their verdict in this case. This trial was supposed to last, I think, 4 months. It does not seem like it's going to last anywhere near that long, unless they're planning on taking even more breaks. I think they're coming back August 22nd. I'm not sure if that's the exact date they're coming back, but we will stay tuned. Let me know your questions. And in the meantime, if another update episode is necessary, we will provide it. I've got another new golf shirt on here from Nicole. It is from the Saidiat Beach. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, in Abu Dhabi. Thank you, Nicole. These are cool. I love wearing these and sporting these on the show, doing these videos. So I appreciate you guys as always. Let me know what you think about this case in the comments. If you have any questions, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and check us out on Instagram and Twitter. like the video on your way out. Thanks for watching this episode of The Lawyer You Know. If you like this content, please share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe to our page and like our videos. If you want some interaction, get in the comments and we'll be sure to get back to you. If you want to know any more information about our firm or this page, you can find out in the description or visit tragoslaw.com. We post multiple times throughout the week, so make sure you hit that bell so you can get the notification and not miss out on the next episode.